Almost every single time I've shown any form of emotion that wasn't just stoic, horniness, or anger, I've been treated like some sort of rare creature that needs to be flaunted to the world. And it's honestly the worst reaction to it I can think of. Story 1. The one person I looked up to and wanted to be proud of me told me how worthless I was to him in a way that left no room for doubt. I didn't expect this to get so much attention. I just wanted to say thanks to you all for taking the time to reach out. I appreciate it. Story 2. In college, a couple of friends, both female, noticed I was having a bad week and insisted I tell them what was going on. After 15 minutes of me ranting about my grades, professors, my job, and my family, I was starting to feel better getting it all off my chest. But then one of them, making no attempt to hide it, leaned to the other and said, "Damn, I wish we never asked." And they both started laughing with each other about how much they didn't want to be there listening to me. Now, whenever people ask how I'm doing, I just say I'm fine or I'm tired to save the time and energy. Story 3. I opened up about my home situation in primary school to my teachers. It was about how my dad has a fuse the size of a microbe and can be verbally abusive. My teacher told my parents what I told her. Needless to say, my dad was angry, and I didn't dare to talk about this stuff to trusted persons until last year, 16 years later. Story 4. My biological father is a negative influence, and a lot of my depression and self-esteem issues stem from my relationship with him. I tried opening up to a college girlfriend about it, and she called me Captain Daddy Issues and laughed at me. I laughed it off at the time, but it seriously broke my heart and led to me shutting down emotionally until I met the woman I wound up marrying. Story 5. In my family, I, as the father, am the rock and immovable point where everything hinges. The stoic, calm eye of the storm. I once started to open up to my wife about what worries me, and she almost had a nervous breakdown. I ended up consoling her for an hour, and it was some of the rather tame stuff I deal with all the time. I stopped opening up about my worries to her after that. I have a friend or two I can share heavy stuff with, but not with my partner. I tell her about things once they are solved. You should open up to me more. Now, example of something current? The smell of disinfectant triggers painful memories of the death of my first daughter in the neonatal intensive care unit, 27 days old. Luckily, you can't see my face under the mask in public, where there is a disinfectant station at every shop. I barely flinch at the pain anymore. You look grumpy today? Grocery shopping was exhausting. Everything is fine. Story 6. I went to therapy and my therapist advised me to let down my guard to my girlfriend. She lost all attraction to me, shared my issues with her whole friend group for her support, and then broke up with me. Life will teach you lessons the hard way whenever possible. Story 7. Once, I told my friends about my high insecurities regarding my physical appearance and my attractiveness or lack thereof in my case, and they laughed at me and made a joke about it not being a big deal and implying that I was acting or thinking like a girl. I never shared anything more with those friends. Story 8. I don't like opening up to anyone even today. After 2 years of antidepressants and 6 months of therapy, I can't open up to my mom because she would end up using it against me, maybe immediately, maybe later. Don't get me wrong, I love my mom. She's been through a great deal and tried her best to not let that reach us, my brother and me, but to err is human. My dad is what your typical Indian dad is, a stoic guy, not expressing himself, kind of like the meme of that dog sitting in a room on fire. Add to that his emotionally distant parents and him joining the army at 17 to become an officer, and you have this absolutely thick exterior that doesn't let anything through. I work as a doctor in Delhi. Everyone around is dying. Bright-eyed juniors I knew, people I said goodbye to not knowing it would be the last opportunity I'd get, patients and their hapless families, grieving mothers, fathers, wives, husbands, parents, children. None of them deserved it, and I feel that somehow I'm to blame. I can't just man up every time. Sorry I started this diatribe. Had to get it out somewhere. Returned to this thread this morning. I never knew you could find love in strangers on the internet. Stay safe, all of you. Hope I never get to meet you when I'm working. Story 9. My wife asked me what I said at counseling, and I told her about my suicidal thoughts. She wondered aloud what else I hadn't told her, why I was keeping secrets, whether she really knows me, and how she can trust me. so I don't think I'll be mentioning any more secrets. Story 10. My ex-girlfriend and I were going through a rough patch with slight depression. I told her I was looking to improve our relationship and understanding, but she decided to break up with me. Even though I was the rock, helped her earn some money, drove her everywhere. I helped her sister when she got beaten up by her ex-husband. Yeah, awful. I helped her sister with the kids by finding them diapers and food. I helped her dad find oil and gasoline since there was none in my country for a moment. I drove her to medical school when she couldn't find transport. I paid for a trip to another country when our country was failing so we could be safer, later returned. I said, "You know I was not in a good place. I have not been my best for about 3 months. I've supported you in everything. Just give me a small chance." She responded, "Don't kill yourself. If you feel bad, call your best friend. You don't deserve this." I found out she cheated, and the new boyfriend appeared a month later. Still hurts even after a year. I'm still awestruck by the way she did everything. A 3-year relationship meant that little, but I have been better. Story 11. I got my ass beat for trying to talk to my mom about being abused, then getting criticized every time I've tried to relate to someone since. I don't really want to live in a world like this, but I guess I don't have a choice. Story 12. My mother passed away when I was 15. I cried my eyes out to my girlfriend at the time. She called me a little witch and said she didn't understand why I was crying, behind my back to her group of friends and my best friend, who told me. So I broke up with her. Then she spread a bunch of rumors about me. Yes, teenagers are messed up. Story 13. A friend of mine told me I should open up more and share more with her. She promptly decided to drop all her problems on me, while also telling me to deal with my own problems myself because I'm not your therapist. She then used my issues to try and gaslight me into thinking I was insane. Nice girl, we aren't friends anymore. Story 14. I told my employer about how I was going through a divorce because my quality at work was being affected and that I was going to see a counselor who volunteered at an addiction recovery center and who convinced me to volunteer and teach recovering addicts how to keep bees as therapy. My employer later accused me of stealing $15,000 worth of bee supplies and honey with no evidence and illegally searched my storage shed, where I kept my personal bee items at a private yard. Later, he reduced my hours from 40 to 4 to try and get me to quit, which worked as I had to commute 45 minutes to work, and for 4 hours a week, split between 3 days, it wasn't worth it. Story 15. I was told I had no fire or passion, and my girlfriend was attracted to me when we argued, and I showed a bit of spark. Another time, I told my mom about my anxiety and depression diagnosis. She stormed upstairs and told me I was lucky because in the 1980s, I would have been thrown out of the house. And there was some show where that happened, and this guy was crying, and that would be me. All very bizarre. Story 16. My ex never reacted well to me opening up to her. I think it scared her or something. Getting a real, raw glimpse inside someone who is struggling with mental health issues can really freak people out, especially when they have this idea of who their partner should be or how they want their life to be. My current partner is amazing. I tell her everything, and she listens to it all, supports me, and encourages me to open up. I've told her the worst of the worst, and she just holds me and loves me. I have a hard time accepting it sometimes, but it's getting easier. There's a lot of hurt in these comments and a lot of don't open up. I say open up when you've found someone who can handle it. Most people, men and women, are emotionally unable to cope. They can't handle their own emotional baggage, let alone other people's emotional baggage. They think they can, but they can't. Most people need help. So don't expect someone else to be your therapist. Share with your partner, yes, but also invest in therapy if your issues are persistent. Story 17. I was a late bloomer romantically. I wasn't a nice guy or a creeper. I just had some serious self-worth and depression issues. I had been in very good shape, had a stable job, and had hobbies that kept me outdoors and with the best of friends. So, when the first girl I clicked with after I'd decided to give dating a try dumped me after finding out that I'd been a virgin, it didn't feel great. Apparently, bringing a flower to a date for her had been pathetic as well. I hadn't been hiding it from her or been in love or anything, but someone basically telling me that I was clingy and weird just because I'd never really tried to be with someone until my mid-20s. Story 18. I really don't talk about it honestly. I could write a couple of books on the failures of empathy and camaraderie I've encountered throughout my life. I feel like I would be dashing the hopes of any men who want a peaceful and meaningful life. I've not been flaunted, but I've been taken advantage of, disdained, spat on, dismissed, laughed at, physically assaulted, threatened, later jumped, and made a literal new target of ethnic gangs. I honestly recommend just finding a therapist. It's a literal cultural crime on every continent to be weak as a man. At least a therapist is expected to be rational and cultured. Story 19. For me, it was when I needed her to be the strong one. I got super stressed out from my first deployment and expressed that I needed a day or two of my own time to relax due to my girlfriend at the time having an insatiable desire to either be intimate or problematic. She would constantly express her desires and then start a really tough conversation with me. She was very back and forth about wanting kids, which was a huge topic for me. She would bring this up and then mention her mother wants us to date for 7 years before marriage, as that's the only way it could happen. During the time I needed to clear my head, I didn't do anything that would hurt her. I just went to work and focused on myself and coping. Turns out she lost interest in me almost immediately and then left me 2 days later once I felt okay again because I wasn't good enough. It's cool. I was fine all alone out there, and I learned that I am not dating a manipulative person who uses relationships to feel better about themselves and uses me as a therapist. I'm a grown man, and sometimes, if I'm really stressed, I need space away from the stress and not more crying or problems or complicated issues. Story 20. This isn't earth-shatteringly bad like some people, but my girlfriend and I are long distance, and the pandemic means we've not seen each other in almost 9 months at this point. That's caused some friction. She has previously told me, you need to open up and communicate your problems, which to an extent I understand, as I'm quite a reserved person. Despite my warnings at the time that she might not like what she hears, she still gets incredibly hurt when I criticize her even the slightest bit or tries to one-up me when I complain about how things in my life are going. I'm sticking with it because it's what she repeatedly says she wants, but I don't think it's done our relationship any favors. She feels insecure and upset because I say things I'd otherwise have kept secret, and I feel guilty for making her feel that way without any of the catharsis of actually venting to someone who cares. Story 21. My grandfather, who was like my father, died. Then, for the next 3 weeks, I was very sad and aloof. My girlfriend at the time just found another guy because I couldn't be fun. Story 22. Aunt and I got into a fight when I was 16 at the time. It was a misunderstanding. She was shouting that I cursed at her when I didn't even know she was there. My parents were unreasonable and kept telling me that I shouldn't have shouted back because they were older, even though they were in the wrong. I told my girlfriend and some of my new friends at the new school. They were very helpful in the messages. Morning came and they were laughing at a part of the story I told them which didn't really matter in comparison to what I felt. I didn't talk or come near them for 3 days. My girlfriend apologized, though, when I told her how insensitive it was. After that, I never really bothered to share with anyone. Story 23. Grew up in the neighborhood. Lost friends to violence or prison, lost people to drugs, saw some things that really affected me. Met a girl who told me I could tell her anything and she was always there if I needed to talk. One night it got to me and I opened up to her, and you could just see all the attraction leave her face. She ended up distancing herself from me afterwards and we lost contact. Learned a harsh but blunt truth that night. When women say they want you to open up, what they really mean is the romanticized version their favorite romance films show, not what it actually looks like to open up. Story 24. I was kind of dating a woman. She wanted me to have a sexually transmitted disease test just to make sure I didn't have anything, so we could have some intimacy without protection and without worries. She was on birth control pills. I had the opportunity to have sex, but I declined because I wanted to respect what she told me. The next day, she returned with her abusive ex-boyfriend. We had plans for the summer, and everything was gone in a second. It hurt. I would say I dodged a bullet. Story 25. When I've opened up to women about my abusive childhood because they ask me to open up more, they often attempt to win in the victim Olympics. They compare traumas and somehow make it about themselves. Yet when they tell me about their struggles or traumas, I always listen, show compassion, and validate them if applicable. I never compare. My ex even got mad at me after I opened up. Not in the moment, but about 3 weeks later. She said, I feel like I can't even open up to you anymore. When I asked why, she said, when I think about what you've been through, I feel like I can't complain about my situation. She was upset at me for this and wanted me to apologize for having worse trauma than her own. I found that many women want you to communicate how something made you feel, as opposed to hearing what actually happened. I've had the most success when I omit details and only discuss the feeling. For example, in childhood, I felt helpless and alone, but I'm good now, rather than, when I was 11, my brother held a metal fork to the stove and branded me with it for fun. Fewer details are better. Oh, and for the record, you'll never out-victim them.